Whenever Sora Mukujima falls asleep, he finds himself in a strange dream realm made of nothing but smoke and wreckage. The world seems utterly devoid of any form of life, or at least that's how it appears at first glance. He spots a mysterious, muscular man who looks like a bargain basement version of Zeus, standing right in the middle of that strange world. The guy speaks directly to our boy, spouting meaningless drivel and saying he'll be waiting for him at the edge of the abyss. Before Sora can make sense of anything that enigmatic lunatic says, he wakes up in his bed, his face covered in sweat. Soon after, his mother calls him while he freshens up with his morning routine. His father steps out of the bathroom and starts fawning over his son like he's still 12 years old. Before we go any further, a bit about Sora's family. It's been 3 years since his brother enlisted in the SDF, and Sora plans to join in the future too. When that time comes, it will be time to say goodbye to the peaceful life he's been living. His father is a guy who never takes anything seriously and loves playing the clown more than anything, while his mother is naturally strict, though he loves her deeply. So far, Sora has nothing to complain about. He could live this calm life until the end of the world without a hitch. Well, as narrator, I think I spoke too soon, because the world is literally about to end with the appearance of gigantic towers, so tall they tear through the sky. The presence of these towers feels eerily familiar to our boy, as if they're connected to his dreams. The towers begin to pop up all over the world, causing even more chaos. His family loses contact with his brother, who was serving in the SDF, and when the number of towers reaches 20, even TV signals are cut, and the radio barely functions. Things get so bad that everyone is forced to evacuate to shelters. With no choice, his parents pack their bags. Before leaving, they leave a note for their son in the SDF, so if he ever returns home, at least he'll know his parents have gone to the shelter. When Sora and his family arrive at the gymnasium serving as a temporary shelter, the place is already packed with refugees who have nowhere else to go. The desperation on people's faces is visible to the naked eye. But even in a life or death situation, there are scumbags who prey on the weak just to assert themselves and show how rotten they are. One bastard steals the only piece of bread from a boy, and when the kid tries to protest the injustice, the thief lands a devastating punch in his stomach. No one stands up to this miserable wretch, who, after stealing the bread, continues to psychologically torment the boy. Finally, Sora's father intervenes and stops the scoundrel. That mocking Gen Z bastard just sneers at Sora's father and tries to land a punch, but the one who ends up eating a devastating kick is him, collapsing to the ground exactly where filth like him belongs. Sora's father returns the bread to the boy and casts a look of contempt at the delinquent, who luckily is smart enough not to mess with this real Giga Chad anymore, and slinks away with what little dignity he has left. Apparently, Sora has a history with this guy. His name is AGI Kagawa, a lowlife who used to humiliate our boy along with his cronies. Suddenly, a soldier bursts in, delivering an emergency order. Everyone in the shelter must leave immediately and board the trucks parked outside. The reason for these abrupt orders remains confidential, but it's best if everyone obeys. Of course, some people start to protest, wasting time arguing instead of moving. Out of nowhere, someone begins banging violently on the front door. Sora instinctively senses that shit is about to hit the fan, so he pushes his parents, trying to escape. The soldier who delivered the message tries to hold the gate with all his might, but he can't contain the monsters on the other side, who burst the door open, taking the soldier with them. Those who were protesting now run desperately toward the exit. Sora starts to fall behind, unable to keep up with his parents' pace, as people crowd into the waiting trucks. Soon, all the trucks are full, with no room for anyone else. Sora ends up one of the unlucky ones who didn't make it in. His father tries to pull him into the truck, but the selfish bastards behind him refuse to let the boy in, claiming there's no space. Eventually, Sora decides to try a different truck, leaving his parents worried in the previous vehicle. Most of the trucks are already full except the last one in line, but before he can reach it, that damn truck starts to speed off. Even so, Sora manages to grab onto the moving truck. To help him up, someone extends a hand, and that outstretched hand belongs to that bastard Kagawa, who looks at our boy like he's a helpless prey. Instead of pulling Sora up, that scumbag shoves him out of the truck. The poor kid falls to the ground and is trampled by other survivors scrambling for a ride. He lies there curled up, begging someone to help him out of this nightmare. His prayers are soon answered when that bargain basement Zeus from his dreams appears right in front of him. That bearded bastard repeats the same enigmatic talk about waiting for our boy at the edge of the abyss. And out of nowhere, everything around Sora changes, transporting him to an entirely different realm. Suddenly, a goblin attacks with a devastating swing of a stone axe, and Sora dodges by a hair's breadth. That wretched goblin doesn't relent and hurls the axe back at him. Once again, Sora narrowly escapes a lethal blow, but the proximity leaves a nasty cut. This filthy, miserable creature seems on a mission, determined to strike Sora with that axe at any cost. As if his life wasn't complicated enough, now he has to deal with this crap too. Just to recap, First came the giant tower that appeared out of nowhere, then that bastard who shoved him off the truck, then that mysterious bearded man who keeps adding suspense with cryptic lines, and now this goblin who looks hell-bent on splitting Sora's skull in two. But the guy reaches his limit. He grabs a rock that's been catching his eye and smashes that disgusting green goblin to bits. Sora then notices a mark shaped like a letter engraved on the goblin's chest, probably indicating the creature's level. Next, something resembling a crystal emerges from the monster's chest and floats directly into Sora's own chest, entering his body. Surprisingly, it's not trying to hurt him. In fact, quite the opposite. The cut on his face from the axe begins to heal. Moreover, he feels a new power coursing through his entire being. No deep thought needed to realize he's basically leveled up after clearing that stage, just like in video games. He picks up the goblin's axe and decides to scout the area first, to avoid being caught off guard by any more of those bastards. Time passes, but Sora finds nothing, even after circling the place. Literally, there's nothing here. The spot he's been transported to is just a floating island with a broken, crumbling structure. There's also a staircase leading downward, and since there's no other way forward, he begins to descend those deadly steps. One false move and he'll fall badly. Normally, terrains like this are perfect monster territory, and in games you'd respawn if you fell. But Sora isn't keen to test that theory by jumping. It could mean a real game over. Summoning his courage, he ventures down the macabre stairway and finds an entrance leading into the floating island. Sora steps carefully with each footfall, and upon reaching the center, sees a tombstone illuminated by a lit torch. Surprisingly, he can perfectly understand the inscription, despite it being in a totally unknown language. According to what's written there, Sora must collect fragments before he has the right to leave the abyss. For some reason, this makes him grin. The fact that the monster he just defeated was weak indicates that passing through this abyss won't be so hard, so it's only a matter of time before he gets the hell out of here for good. Finally, he opens the doors leading to the second stage of this twisted game. The first layer of the abyss was 900 meters deep, and the number engraved on that monster's body was 1. After clearing the second layer, which is 1,800 meters deep, he discovers one of the monsters bears the number 2. Likewise, the third layer is twice the size of the previous one, and only one in every 4 monsters has the number 4 marked on its body. The important detail here is that fragments can only be acquired from monsters that bear numbers. No fragment, no progress to the next layer. Furthermore, it's obvious that the deeper he goes, the stronger the monsters become. Since each layer's terrain size increases with level, finding the key fragment gets increasingly difficult, not to mention the number of monsters rises too. This survival mode on hard difficulty is making him stronger by the minute. The guy has battled so many layers that he literally looks like a derelict, and the variety of monsters started to increase as he leveled up. On the 12th floor, he encountered the very same monsters that had attacked the shelter that day. With all the strength he'd amassed on his journey to the 12th floor, those miserable crybabies were no match for his absolute power, and they were defeated in a matter of seconds. After the 13th floor, the absurd number of monsters he faced began to feel like an impossible challenge, but Sora went through it all as if those monsters were merely disposable punching bags. By the time he reached the 13th floor, the monster count had soared to an impressive 500 million, so finding the keys was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Some of the key-bearing monsters were guarded by entire groups, while others hid in small caves. The most annoying part of the entire journey was the length of time it took to kill each of them, but no matter what, Sora kept pushing forward. Finally, he arrived at the 42nd layer of the abyss. The monster count was so colossal that even if you gathered every monster from every Mano that ever existed, it still wouldn't come close to the number there. Basically, there were over 2 trillion monsters, and each one wasn't just another. These beasts were capable of annihilating entire cities on their own. But after fighting all the monsters on the previous floors, Bro had become completely obsessed with monster slaying. He no longer even resembled the same person he once was. He fought those over 2 trillion monsters for years. So many years he lost count, but he had no choice. He needed to exterminate every last monster because only then could he find the fragment he sought. At last, he found a monster far more terrifying and ferocious than the others. Upon seeing that hulking figure, our boy grinned from ear to ear, as if he was finally about to claim the fragment he'd fought so hard for. That monster might have looked strong, but Sora shredded it like it was nothing. Bro had become so powerful that the very concept of power itself lost all meaning. The sad part was that the monster didn't have the fragment, which meant he still had a long way to go. Before continuing, let's recap what was happening in the real world. In the 21st century, 20 towers suddenly appeared around the globe. Before humanity could understand what was happening, monsters began emerging from them and nearly annihilated everyone. Most people were slaughtered immediately, and this event became known as Judgment Day. A small group of survivors awakened and gained access to a mysterious system. These awakened ones received incredible powers, which turned the tide for humanity humanity's restoration. The Awakened formed groups called Hunter Guilds. Now, we return to our boy, who is chasing the last remaining monster in this current layer. After massacring countless enemies, suddenly chains of mana begin to envelop the monster, and it starts ascending into the sky as if trying to flee that place. An unknown voice warns our boy not to let the monster escape because it's being summoned by someone who just used an advanced transfer scroll. This monster was marked for selection. That warning makes our boy realize this is his only chance to escape that damned place. So before the monster can get away, he leaps straight into the spell to pursue it. A slew of status windows appears around him, each flashing alerts about the Abyssal summoning, warning that you cannot transfer more than 2 living beings. But our guy is determined to get out of that place, and nothing will stop him now. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of City S on Earth, we see a damsel in distress running desperately, being pursued. Her name is Yonowaki, an Awakened of level 19. By her appearance, she seems to be a mage. As she runs through terrain thick with roots and vegetation, her foot catches, causing her to fall. Now she's completely screwed, with the thugs closing in fast. They demand she hand over the advanced transfer scroll. After all, a level 19 novice has no right to carry a level 60 scroll, which her fragile body couldn't even use. Either she surrenders the scroll, or the hulking brute will kill her without a second thought. That hulking brute is Toshida, a level 35 swordsman, and the woman beside him is Aika, a level 34 druid. Aika tells her friends not to kill the prey. Yonowaki still reminds everyone that hunter-on-hunter combat is forbidden, but those scoundrels don't seem to care about the rules. Sho Toshida, a level 38 barbarian, is willing to make his own rules if she doesn't hand over the scroll. If she obeys, maybe they'll let her live, purely out of mercy. That's when the girl decides to turn the tables, threatening to use the scroll if they don't back off. Aika, who was previously against killing her, changes her tune and orders Toshida to capture her at all costs. The barbarian goes berserk, swinging his blade like a complete lunatic. But the girl vanishes 1 second before the giant sword could slice her in half. She finally uses the forced summoning scroll, to the horror of the bandits. Look, forced summoning can call forth an advanced, uncontrollable monster. Basically, the girl just triggered a suicide bomb with her own hands. She's going to die, but she'll take those sons of bitches with her. The bandits rush desperately to try to stop her, but it's already too late. A bolt of lightning descends from the sky, and then she summons the monster. Well, that monster looks familiar. It's the same mutant wolf of level 3 that our boy has been chasing. Because it's just a level 3 wolf, the thugs start laughing their heads off. This monster isn't the world destroyer they were expecting, but it looks like these idiots are about to get the biggest reality check of their lives. The very creature they were mocking is instantly obliterated by our boy, throwing everyone into total panic. They mistake this gigachad for a bloodthirsty humanoid monster. Not even the scroll girl has any idea what the hell she just summoned. Meanwhile, our guy is completely euphoric to be free. Excitement takes over, and he's the only one laughing like a maniac, while everyone else soils themselves in terror. His laughter is so overwhelming that the brutes can't even move. His presence is like a tsunami about to swallow them all. Then he literally blurs forward at Aika, and with that insane look on his face, asks if they're on Earth. The hesitant woman says yes, and that sends a dopamine rush straight to his brain. The two muscle-bound thugs still haven't grasped what's happening and throw themselves to their deaths, thinking they'll prove how strong they are. But their weapons simply shatter on contact with our boy's impervious skin. At this point, the brutes realize they screwed up. To them, he is the real monster. Meanwhile, our guy, used to fighting monsters his entire life, starts hallucinating. His brain identifies the thug as an orc-like monster, and instinctively he asks if this monster is numbered, and if it carries the fragment he's looking for. Of course, the poor fool has no clue what this lunatic is talking about. Suddenly, Sora snaps out of his trance and releases the guy. The wretch is so terrified in our boy's presence that he literally pees his pants. It's a humiliating spectacle for a gang boss to piss himself in front of everyone. Sora gives the thugs a chance to flee if they still value their pathetic lives. As expected, all the cowards run off in opposite directions to try to save their miserable skins. The only one left is the scroll girl. She takes in his fearsome scars and grows curious about who he truly is. For a moment, she wonders if he's a demon summoned by the transfer scroll. Sora turns his attention to her and asks how many years have passed since the towers appeared. Surprisingly, she answers that it's only been 5 years. He begins firing off questions, and she recounts every detail of what's happened since then. See, the system awakened in humans, and the outside world changed drastically in those 5 years she was trapped in the abyss. City S has just endured its 7th major demon invasion, and she barely escaped. The mention of City S triggers some memories in Sora. It was his hometown. He then interrogates her about City Imi, and she reveals that the city lies in ruins, though she still hopes the hunters there can pull it back from darkness. He asks how to get to City S from here. She points in a direction, and Sora simply vanishes, leaving her to make her own way. This encounter with that mysterious fellow wasn't something you see every day, so she decides to report everything to her superiors, specifically to Lady Onus-sama. Let's not forget the cowards who barely escaped, but it seems their streak of bad luck isn't over. An unknown entity appears right in front of them, blocking their path. This mysterious figure senses our boy's presence among them, then gives them exactly 3 seconds to reveal everything they know about Sora. Of course, 3 seconds isn't nearly enough time to process all this madness, so none of them can utter a word. When the time's up, the entity massacres them on the spot, just as promised. Cut to the Tiger's Roar Guild headquarters on the tower's front line. There, a secretary brings grim news. The signals from those 4 guys have vanished completely, meaning nobody knows where Yonowaki went with the transfer scroll. The boss, of course, doesn't like hearing news that disrupts his plans. He's furious to learn that all those beefed-up thugs couldn't contain a novice. The secretary sadly reveals that the team's signals disappeared simultaneously, which can only mean they were wiped out in a single blow. This enraged man is Rich Mukai, a level 118 Storm Priest. He orders her to investigate who was responsible for the team's death, and demands that Yonowaki be captured and forced to reveal everything about the mysterious fellow who killed his thugs. He simply will not tolerate anyone laying a hand on his men, even if his men are idiots. That's when he spots our boy crashing through the building's window, emanating that overwhelming presence. And the hostility he feels is absolutely insane. He wants to know who this guy really is. Even more surprising, this unknown person is heading straight toward the Fallen Zone already overrun. He also notices that the tower at Sea City, dormant for 5 years, has finally begun to move. He's certain things are about to get serious, and his instincts have never failed him. Cut to the Fallen Zone of City S, where Sora surveys the desolate, monster-infested city he once called home. Over the last 5 years, while he was trapped in the Abyss, this place transformed into a living hell. Those excruciating 5 years turned him from a useless weakling into the strongest man alive. His senses are dulled, his sense of time completely lost, which has made him a beast. But the only thing that kept a shred of his sanity intact was his family. The monsters he once feared are now just insects to him. He's dying to reunite with his parents, and the only brother he has left. As he approaches the outskirts of City S, we see that this once vibrant place is now a wasteland, destroyed by the monster's devastating fury. Not a single building retains its original appearance. Sora frowns as he realizes there are no monsters killing people. It's as if everyone evacuated for good. The mighty warrior hesitates as he unlocks the door, but he's so strong that the door literally comes off in his hand. Upon entering his old beloved home, he sees that nothing is as it once was. Sora expected it to be empty, but came anyway. After all, this is the only place that holds all his happy memories. Suddenly, his eyes fix on a piece of paper on the table. It's a message about Sora from his parents. They believed their son was still alive, even 5 years after his disappearance. In the end, they were waiting for his return, refusing to believe he died. This shatters Sora's resolve, especially when he sees that his parents rearranged his favorite clothes and kept all his preferred items exactly as he liked them. They even left a map to the same safe shelter they went to. Their only request was that he find them, since they couldn't accept his death. Clutching a shredded photo of his family, Sora collapses, a stark contrast to his usual determination. He grabs a blade and decides to give himself a quick haircut, while desperately questioning his ability to end the apocalypse alone, wondering if it will ever be enough to restore things to how they were. By the way, the guy basically looks like a cross between Sun Jin Woo and Kakakel's haircut. I bet you didn't expect this crossover, and neither did I. His next destination is Shelter 6, since Sora wants to reunite with his parents using the map they left. Unfortunately, the route is completely blocked by collapsed buildings, but instead of finding another path, this tough guy finds it easier to just obliterate whatever's in his way, and that's exactly what he does. He makes a path by force, destroying an airborne monster with a single strike. Then he starts leaping from one spot to another, leaving chaos in his wake. Even nearby survivors are like, "What the hell is happening?" until they see a guy flying around at light speed. The funniest part is someone even films our boy in 4K. They can't believe a real person is moving that fast between the buildings. Meanwhile, below, a girl is being harassed by a band of scumbags. These guys have probably never seen a woman in their pathetic lives, so the sight of one drives them completely insane. In fact, it seems to be the same guy who shoved our boy off the truck 5 years ago. The bastard approaches her with disgusting comments, leering at her body, but Sora appears with a murderous glare and calls them trash. This man literally diverted from the path to his parents just to beat these worms up. That's how you know they're screwed. They try to use a cursed leap technique straight out of Jujutsu Kaisen, but Sora's in Sukuna mode, slapping everyone's faces, literally. Sora dodges another guy's attack and delivers a knee to his face. And the most surprising thing is his head doesn't explode on the spot. The guy must be using only 1% of his power. The gang leader tries to claim he's from a powerful guild, which clearly doesn't work against a protagonist with more attitude than Shadow the Hedgehog. And to top it off, our boy reminds Kagawa, the bastard, that he came back from the dead after Kagawa tried to kill him. As expected, Kagawa's expression is like he's seen a ghost. Of course, being the coward he is, all he can do is beg for mercy. Our boy laughs before grabbing the idiot by the throat. Sora emphasizes that he endured literal hell just to return the favor to the one responsible for his misery. Jesus may forgive and forget, but this man isn't doing either as he crushes Kagawa's windpipe, thinking about stripping him of his dignity and life. Behind him, the voices of the thousands of monsters he's slain echo, all worshipping him as the strongest being and urging him on. The thing about Kagawa is that he deserved every bit of this. He didn't just betray or bully Sora once. No, it was a constant, agonizing lifestyle Sora had to endure. The humiliation and powerlessness are still fresh in his memories. So now, as he's choking the life out of this man, Sora believes it's time to give it all back, with a little interest, of course. Kagawa used to talk so much about how pleasurable it was to intimidate someone as weak as Sora, but suddenly, a shred of humanity surfaces in the warrior as he releases the scumbag, forcing Kagawa to cherish each breath he takes. It wasn't a change of heart, but rather a decision not to become what he most despises. Otherwise, they'd be no different. At the same time, remembering what Kagawa tried to do to the girl, Sora decides this nuisance will only continue to harm others in the apocalyptic landscape. So he tells the weak coward that he won't kill him, but at the same time, it would be foolish to let him go without consequences. Our hero emphasizes the hellish school life he had to endure, all because of one man's existence. He deems it only fair that Kagawa endure a few of his punches for hunting the weak and trying to take his life. Then, in true Sun Jin Woo style, he gives him an ultimatum. Endure 4 simple attacks from him, and if you survive, you can walk away unscathed. Of course, even Kagawa thinks this is ridiculous. His brains would be splattered at the first punch. Grabbing him by the collar, we get a great shot of Sora pulling his arm back for a punch, gathering basically all his power. Our hero shatters Kagawa's face with a hook, sending him to the ground, but it's not over, because a second brutal punch follows right after the first. His thirst for vengeance still unquenched, Sora delivers a third punch, dragging his tiny victim along as Sora stands godlike over Kagawa's pathetic state. He begs to be killed already, given all the pain he's suffered. Sora responds with a kick to the bastard's face, sending him crashing to the ground in pieces. The final outcome of this battle is brutal for Kagawa. Not only are all his limbs broken, but he's completely blinded. As for his lackeys, Sora strictly orders them to get Kagawa immediate medical attention and never show their faces before him again. Saying these words, he leaps away, leaving his small distraction behind. Now it's time to focus on his true destination, the shelter. The scene cuts to City S's buffer zone, where several soldiers regret not being assigned to watch duty. Why? Because fighting monsters is far more terrifying and risky than a simple observation post. Their leader reminds them to stay alert, since you never know when a monster might appear. This is First Lieutenant Tanji Kagura. One of his subordinates is Soldier Shoki Matsura, who protests that monsters rarely appear in the buffer zone, so there's no reason to worry. But the universe simply hates this guy, because at that moment, a baby kraken emerges out of nowhere and begins attacking the soldiers. Tanji recommends they maintain formation and unleash heavy suppressive fire, but the creature's shell is simply too tough for their weapons to inflict significant damage. The beast is also an impressive level 45, so it's not like they have many options. Returning a blow of its own, the monster readies itself to kill them all. Frightened, the lieutenant advises his soldiers to spread out to avoid the attack, but the monster is so surprisingly fast that it immediately slices one soldier in half, causing another to panic and start firing wildly. As they shoot to bring down the creature, one of them hauls a crate and charges toward the beast, hoping to close the distance in the distraction. Reaching the creature's strange eye, the soldiers are astonished when the baby kraken simply stops its attack on them. The beast seems stunned, a reaction mirrored by the soldiers. The lieutenant suspects it's afraid of an imminent threat, far more terrifying, and the baby kraken reacts unusually, curling in on itself and retreating to the soldiers' surprise. Seizing the opportunity, they drop the crate full of explosives next to the creature's creature's face, causing a massive explosion that sends the monster's body flying up in flames. At this point, the soldiers pray it's dead, but when the dust settles, the monster appears unscathed by any significant injury. With their only chance ending in pathetic failure, the soldiers resign themselves to their fate, until suddenly, Sora makes his forced landing. Out of nowhere, he crushes the monster's face, much like Bulma shattered Yamcha's pride in Dragon Ball Z. The lieutenant connects the dots and realizes it was this terrifying human who scared off the creature in the first place. They can't believe what they're seeing. This guy just obliterated a monster with a single strike. Even with S-rank power, there were only a handful of people in their world who possessed that kind of strength. Besides, none of them had ever seen Sora's face before. The lieutenant wants to learn more about him, so he tries to activate his appraisal or inspection skill. But to his shock, the system tells him to shut up because it can't access any information on Sora. The attempt alone leaves the lieutenant dizzy, to the point where his subordinates grow concerned. Meanwhile, Sora has no idea what's happening and simply asks one of the soldiers how far Shelter 6 is. He learns it's actually 50 kilometers ahead, but to get there, he must pass through the Nightmare Zone, Region X. It's the first time Sora has heard that name, so he discovers that this area is designated to contain monsters that are congregating in one spot. Many hunters are actively fighting in that zone right now. Our boy also notices that by killing monsters in his world, hunters collect various rewards from their bodies. It's no different from a game mechanic. To gauge the current power scale, he asks the soldier how powerful a Kraken JL, son of Kraken, would rank. The soldier replies it's a level 45 opponent, so not easy to beat, but Sora feels slightly disappointed, underestimating that such a low level could cause so much trouble. Next, he wonders how many level 45 monsters there are in Region X. The soldier answers bleakly that there are over 100, because if it were in the thousands, humanity would already be wiped out. Having heard everything he needed, Sora prepares to depart. Summoning courage for one last request, the soldier begs him to head straight into Region X immediately. They need every bit of help they can get, and a hunter as powerful as Sora could prevent countless atrocities. Of course, there's no way our boy could avoid Region X anyway, since the shortest route to Shelter 6 passes right through it. So he agrees and promises to annihilate any monster unfortunate enough to cross his path. Switching perspective to the frontline military camp, we see that the lieutenant has finally come to after the battle. And no, this isn't the cliche. He was unconscious for 3 days. The guy was out for only 10 minutes, and luckily they managed to grab some monsters' recovery potions as well. As for the man who saved the group, the lieutenant learns that Sora went north, which he initially accepts, until the absurdity of what he's just heard sinks in. His subordinate explains that the mysterious man intends to visit Shelter 6, meaning he must pass through Region X to reach his destination. But the most shocking part is that Sora didn't seem to care. He simply forged ahead without fear or hesitation, because the guy is on another level. In any case, the lieutenant deems this situation extremely urgent and orders a report to Command Central. In his mind, only 10 minutes have passed, so maybe it's not so bad. The message to Command Central is sent at once, but his subordinate can't understand why they're reporting so frantically. The lieutenant explains that this operation has a different classified nature, so it's natural they don't know everything. The thing about Region X is that it isn't actually just a containment zone for monsters. It's a pure bombardment zone. Cut to Command Central, where an operator reports receiving an emergency call. Central Commander Renji Kumagaya answers, and the operator puts Lieutenant Kagura on the line. He has an urgent report. A mysterious hunter is heading into the bombardment zone, unaware of the danger. The report isn't well received. The commander places the blame squarely on the lieutenant for his error. But Kagura clarifies that he sent an emergency broadcast to inform them of the mysterious hunter, and he has reason to believe this hunter is extremely powerful, so they want to ensure his survival. The commander, hearing that the hunter is strong, asks for proof, specifically his level. Unfortunately, even the lieutenant can't answer, since he couldn't inspect Sora's profile. This leads the commander to think the lieutenant is making baseless claims by allowing an unknown level hunter straight into the bombardment zone. He absolutely cannot permit an emergency broadcast under these circumstances, especially since even his secretary believes the man will die before the message is sent. The commander, a real buffoon, laughs in the lieutenant's face at his ridiculous demands. At the same time, he turns to his colleague. He complains that his subordinates are acting so problematically that he wants to report to his superiors that the operation has been paralyzed by this lieutenant. The woman responsible for the broadcast is Western Commander Mitonosaki, and she's shocked that Potato Commander Kumagaya is willing to sink his own operation just to derail hers. She thinks Kagura wouldn't request outside help unless he truly trusted his instincts, making her wonder just how powerful this mysterious hunter really is. The lieutenant is at a loss for words, waiting for a decision, while Tonosaki finally speaks. Trusting that Kagura wouldn't jeopardize his plans, she agrees to comply, but warns that if this becomes a liability, she'll make his life hell. Tonosaki says all this to gain the backing of Major General Potato, who is furious but demands a reason to proceed. Kagura immediately mentions that the mysterious hunter defeated a level 45 monster with a single blow. This revelation hits Tonosaki like a bomb. She suspects the hunter might be an Army Secret S rank. Meanwhile, Commander Kumagaya finds it incredible, since all known S ranks are currently deployed. They begin investigating the hunter's level and why Kagura couldn't inspect him. The lieutenant explains that he tried, but to everyone's surprise, he simply couldn't access the data, and right after using the skill, he lost consciousness. But that points to only one thing for Kumagaya: the hunter's level is above 100. This tense revelation intrigues them, though Kumagaya argues it's not enough to justify a live broadcast. Eastern Commander Nuo Yuasa agrees. He thinks it's too risky. After all, thousands of troops are already mobilized in a multi-zone operation. The original goal of the bombardment zone was to eliminate remaining wounded monsters in the area. However, if they broadcast an emergency now, the creatures would react to the sound and converge on one spot, which would mean the end of the entire zone in a single strike, costing over 10,000 soldiers' lives instantly. The risk of saving one life is simply too great compared to sacrificing thousands, even if that one is a powerful S rank. His words leave the lieutenant desperate, hoping Tonosaki will intercede. But after a moment's thought, she fully rejects his request as reckless. The decision is final, and the call is immediately cut, heightening the lieutenant's despair as he clenches the device in anger. He did all he could, but things didn't go his way. Suddenly, his subordinate notices the keys on Kagura's belt and swiftly grabs them before the lieutenant can react. The man heads out to commandeer a vehicle. 6 minutes remain until the bombardment begins, and he feels he has time to do something. Despite Kagura's orders, Shoki Matsura rebels, steals the military vehicle, and sets off autonomously. This could bring severe consequences later, but Kagura doesn't want to waste chasing him. After all, as a soldier, Matsura made his own decision. Meanwhile, Matsura floors it to catch up to the mysterious hunter as fast as possible. What he doesn't know is that the man he's trying to save will one day become humanity's hope. Matsura's efforts prove futile. He simply cannot find Sora. The mere fact that he can't locate the hunter serves as further evidence that this guy is faster than a vehicle. Region X lies just ahead, and he wonders if risking activating the loudspeakers to attract attention might be wise. Unfortunately, that also risks drawing monsters, but Matsura is determined and sees it through. Calling himself the Army's disgrace, he believes with everything he's seen he's a true soldier. Hesitantly grabbing the microphone, he finally issues a wide area, warning to alert the hunter to the bombardment zone and urge immediate evacuation. At that moment, Sora is busy annihilating monsters, but he does hear the warning, realizing that's why he hasn't encountered any other hunters. The monsters are trash compared to him, but surviving a nuclear-scale bombing won't be easy, so he chooses caution, and also knows he can't let the soldier die, since Matsura risked his life to deliver this message. Unfortunately, monsters in the area have already locked onto the poor man's vehicle because of the sound, so he speeds back at full throttle, terrified that the hunter is still out there. He remains in the bombardment zone until Sora suddenly appears out of nowhere, demanding clarification about the warning. But it's too late. The bombs start falling like rain from the sky, obliterating the bombardment zone in an endless wave of destruction. Debris hurtling in the shockwave is actually stopped by Sora, who needs only minimal effort to block it. Meanwhile, Major General Kumagaya receives full confirmation that the bombardment was a success. Next, he wants an update on the monster's status for future operations. Using drone feeds, they confirm no human life remains, but in a horrific twist of fate, the monsters survived unscathed. This is disastrous news for the command. Tonosaki orders an immediate drone feed update. The operator shows the footage, and everyone is stunned to see that the creatures created a protective shield against the explosions. Most shocking of all is the appearance of a silver-haired man whose appearance is identical to Sora's. The feed cuts when monsters destroy the drone, Godzilla's little cousin, completely severing communication, leaving Tonosaki wondering what the hell just happened. She suddenly realizes the monsters knew they were being monitored by drones, which means they also know what's coming next. Eastern Commander Yuasa orders an immediate evacuation of all troops from the garrison area. It's imperative to pull everyone back to maintain the walls, but to their horror, the operator continues reporting that the monster's target isn't the walls, but something else. Tonosaki demands to know what it is, until the operator reveals their target, Area B-22, the same spot where the mysterious hunter disappeared. Sensing urgency, Tonosaki immediately orders drones sent to that location to discover what happened to the monsters. Cut to Matsura's perspective. He can't believe the bombardment ended, and he's still alive. He's just happy to be breathing. But Sora reminds him that the celebration is premature because the monsters are still alive and probably coming for them. Suddenly, Sora saves Matsura's life again when a drone plummets toward him. Even the soldier is shocked. Has a monster ever attacked a drone before? Sora remains unfazed and spots a horde of monsters charging. Matsura, however, is losing his mind. They're facing level 50 creatures, effectively the strongest monster group, led by a colossal level 90 behemoth, and the fact they emerged unscathed from the bombardment spells doom for humanity. Matsura resigns himself to his fate, while Sora has other plans. He decides that if the bombardment couldn't kill these bastards, it's personally on him to bury them. Leaping away, he tells the soldier to keep hiding. Sora cuts through the monsters as though they're cardboard and zeroes in on the colossal leader. The beast tries to crush him with an attack, but is effortlessly caught by our hero, who doesn't even budge. He then charges a punch at the monster's face. The strike connects and literally rips the giant's head off in one blow. But to Sora's shock, he finds the same hooded figure seen in the drone footage. Even more startling, Sora hadn't sensed this mysterious man's presence. Now, he looks virtually identical to Sora's long-haired form. To me, the hooded figure seems to have some sort of monstrous transformation ability, and oh my god, the way he resurrected the giant, and now both of them are staring at us with diabolical intent, is bone-chilling. He calls Sora Seed of the Abyss and demands he return what belongs to him, but our hero has no idea what he's talking about. The hooded figure simply smiles and declares that Sora must pay for the crime of stealing another's power with his very life. Then a series of spears erupts from the ground, but they're clearly not strong enough to pierce Sora's skin. He thinks, this is too easy, if this is the level of power he's up against. The giant tries to crush Sora with its hand, while the hooded figure spots another drone and wonders if they're being watched. As for Sora, he doesn't try to dodge, he simply grabs the hand with one of his own, calling the attack pathetic and believing it will take far more than that to kill him. Having said that, Sora charges forward with a spear attack, but to his astonishment, the man vanishes into thin air, only to reappear in a different location. The point is, he chose to interrupt the fight because he doesn't want humans monitoring them. Finding the useless drones irritating in the sky, he gestures for one of the monsters to knock them down. Next, he orders all the creatures to deal with every survivor in the area. The drone was actually being operated by a man hiding in secret, but fortunately he completed his mission, which was nothing more than reporting why the monsters changed course. It was all because of one man, the one who single-handedly handled the strongest monster fleet in the bombardment zone. The man wants to report this to his commander, when suddenly, one of the creatures detects his location and obliterates his path forward. The villainous figure laughs maliciously, savoring the deaths of these annoying humans. Seeing the situation, Sora remembers Matsura's first request, that he not mention the soldier's life risking message delivery. The soldier is struggling to get his vehicle running again. Sora decides to disengage from the fight. He knows the best way to destroy a horde of monsters is to take out the leader first, and to save lives, you must kill as many monsters as possible. The colossal creature lunges, but our boy blocks the attack, reflecting on how the monster's strength has soared after fusing its power with the hooded figure. Then that same figure emerges from a crack in the ground. This time, Sora is stunned to see a mirror image version of himself. The mysterious figure unleashes a sword of pure darkness. Just looking at it, even Sora can tell it's dangerous. His opponent charges, aiming to kill the Seed of the Abyss, but our boy deftly dodges and counters, not only crushing the enemy's hand, but also wrenching the dark blade from him. Sora then delivers a clean strike intending to sever the figure, but the opponent vanishes before the blow lands. Sensing the sword's dark power, Sora gets a bad feeling. Its energy resonates with the abyssal energy he stole when he took the blade. The hooded figure calls him a thief who does nothing but steal others' power, but Sora realizes this fight won't end in one strike, and his priority now is taking the soldier to safety. He asks if Matsura has an issue with heights, and then literally carries the car himself. The hooded figure summons a death sphere, like Frieza's, and declares that the strong exist to grow stronger, not to protect the weak. The sphere hurtles towards Sora, who knows he's too fast to dodge. Instead, he plants the vehicle on the ground and meets the attack head-on, unleashing all his energy in one punch. The sphere disintegrates, revealing its true core. Unfortunately, while dealing with the attack, Matsura's car is ensnared by dark tentacles. Sora urgently tells him to get out, but the soldier is terrified for his life. Horrified, he sees spikes piercing the car from all sides. He can't escape alive. The hooded figure taunts Sora not to act impulsively. After all, he deliberately spared the soldier's life, and now has turned him into a damned puppet, desecrating Matsura's body with necromancy. The figure wants Sora to feel the horror of losing everyone he holds dear, a fate worthy of the Seed of the Abyss. Sora recalls Kagawa's high school bullying, an oppressive force merely entertaining itself at the weak's expense. The figure summons a violent obsidian storm, flechettes so fast they scratch Sora's skin, but he's done playing games. Remembering how disgusting people like this are, he lands one punch that shatters the spikes holding the vehicle. He scoops up Matsura, but the soldier is already more zombie than man. With a demonic glare, Sora pummels him with dozens of blows, then traps him inside the vehicle. Guilt wells up. An innocent was dragged into this mess. Finally, Sora turns back to the real culprit and charges with a mighty punch. But as before, his blows fail to land on the figure's bizarre composition ability. The hooded figure draws another dark sword, chastising Sora for failing to harness the Abyss's true power. Then, lands a punch that sends Sora flying. Sora still thinks their power gap is too great to protect his charge. The colossal monster leaps in, but the real shock is that Sora managed to land his attack just now, and now seems poised to defeat it again. Seeing Sora's inhuman movements, the opponent realizes the seed of the Abyss has unlocked his true power. Sora vanishes, reappearing in the beast's blind spot to finish it, but the hooded figure intervenes, leaping in front to save it. Sora warns that while the figure may escape, the same can't be said for the colossal. He cleaves its body in one blow, yet the dark tentacles simply reassemble the creature. So Sora adopts a new tactic. He hunts down the core, slicing through its vulnerable nodes to sever the creature's link to its core. The giant disintegrates into ashes. With the giant down, Sora focuses on his main target. The hooded figure, cornered, attempts Shadow Unity, a life drain ability that siphons the vitality of nearby monsters into himself. It sounds suspect, right? The unleashed monster energy is so intense, Sora's clothes nearly shred, yet they hold together. In the anticlimactic end, the ability was only a means of escape, not empowerment. Sora breathes a sigh of relief to see Matsura's dog tag intact. He retrieves it and gives the soldier a proper burial, believing he carries Matsura's hopes. As for the hooded figure, many questions trouble Sora. He must be ready at any moment to face an opponent who wields shadow power. Worse, the figure left a threatening note. He will kill everyone Sora loves. No matter what, our friend needs to reach the shelter as fast as he can. With super speed, he rockets toward his destination. Some time passes, and Western Commander Tonosaki and her team arrive to survey the battlefield. They look for clues or survivors, but shockingly, the entire monster fleet is gone. Tonosaki confirms the fact upon seeing the giant corpses and orders an immediate report. She reflects that a battle clearly took place. This mysteriously strong hunter not only survived the bombardment, but single-handedly obliterated the monster fleet. He is an army of one at this point. One soldier suddenly reports finding a functional memory card from the drone, which could shed light on what happened. Reviewing the footage, Tonosaki watches how Matsura and the mysterious hunter entered the danger zone. As the soldiers continue investigating, they discover amazing loot dropped by high-level monsters, rare items you don't see every day. The soldier who found the loot tries to play it cool, but his partner soon finds a second, even more impressive cache. One soldier's attempt to steal the loot is criminal. He proposes splitting it, but the blonde soldier demands only the mystical golden chest. It's not easy to give up, since it might be a legendary item that explains their situation. The blonde reminds him he's in no position to object. He just claims a legendary golem relic. Finally, reaching Shelter 6, Sora sees the survivors are safe, and thrilled not to be under attack. They're stunned by a man with a sculpted physique approaching them, but Sora is lost in thought. He hasn't sensed anyone particularly strong outside. If someone like that doesn't show up, this place will suffer heavy losses in the next invasion. Suddenly, a man confronts him out of nowhere, wearing a bandage over one eye. Sora didn't expect the offspring of Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen and Raiden from Mortal Kombat here, but here we are. The blind man assesses that Sora must be an outsider, relieved when he confirms it. He assures Sora there's nothing to worry about. He's here only to buy information, at a price. He just wants Sora to answer a few questions. At first, Sora is puzzled that money still holds value. He agrees, but stalls before the man can ask anything. Sora wants to know why a monk is out here interrogating him with real symbols. Surely an imposter or cosplayer, and indeed it turns out to be a hobby. Sora then asks if the same applies to his eyes, visibly panicking the man. He removes his blindfold, explaining a recent ocular disease, but that's not the point. Even with the bandage, Sora senses a terrifying light in his eyes. The man really is Gojo's son at this point. Sora surmises the blind man hides his power for a reason, but clearly someone powerful lurks in this shelter. The monk cosplayer is happy to answer questions, so he asks for Sora's take on the outside events. He knows many soldiers are on the walls, and the public didn't see the explosions. Sora, feigning ignorance, says he just ran here, leaving the blind man stunned, since he sensed Sora was hiding power too. Satisfied, the man leaves. Sora is amazed how easily he tricked him, and wonders if many powerful people roam the world. The fact no one questioned him yet worries him. Are humans too weak now? After visiting a clothing store, Sora spends all the money he got from the monk. He returns to his original goal, finding his parents, using the old-fashioned method of asking around. He casually approaches a woman and asks if she's seen the couple. The moment she sees the photo, she's horrified, feigns ignorance, and and flees. Puzzled by her reaction, Sora tries another man. The way he stares intimidates the man, who warns times have changed and problems are solved with words. Sora simply shoves the family photo in his face and asks again. Horrified, the man asks his relationship to them. Sora reveals he's their son, which sounds absurd given their appearances, prompting the man to ball his fists, thinking it's a prank. Suddenly, a truck comes out of nowhere, aiming to run Sora over, but he remains unfazed and stops it without even looking back. He doesn't care about the truck and resumes questioning the man. Seeing someone halt a speeding truck with no effort, the man changes his tune and gives clear directions. Sora thanks him and leaves. The man waves before sprinting off to spread the word of his encounter. As Sora walks, he wonders why a random stranger knows his parents' home, then remembers his father was highly social and well-liked, as was his mother. In their world, good people get exploited, so Sora vows to protect his family this time. Finally, he arrives at the street corner in front of a huge house. He's stunned to discover his parents live here. Sora knocks on the door and immediately recognizes his father's voice. When the door opens, he's shocked to see what looks like a Yakuza staring back at him for showing up unannounced. Sora tries to explain he's actually their son, sending his father into a shock-induced chill. The father stands frozen, as if an old lover appeared at the door. After a long, silent moment, the mother intervenes with a tea tray, breaking the tension enough to let conversation flow. Without missing a beat, the father goes straight to the point. He notes how different the boy looks, almost like a completely new person, though he admits it could be an improvement. After all, maybe the boy is hiding something. He fears the boy is an imposter, and even has a guard posted outside his room just in case. What they don't know is Sora noticed the guard the moment he entered, but instead of panicking, he feels relieved someone is watching. As the father presses for secrets, Sora decides to teach him a lesson. He casually reveals things he knows will embarrass the old man, how he secretly attended ballet and cooking classes for boys. The guard is stunned. The father blushes with shame, still unable to believe this is truly his son. To drive the point home, Sora mentions offhand that the family's fabled sacred sword, kept for generations, is just a replica. The father's nerves fray further. Then Sora drops more juicy details one after another, peeling back layers of the man who always acted imperious. The guard begins to realize the truth. Loud talk, but all smoke and mirrors. That's enough for the father. The tough facade crumbles, and he rushes to Sora, tears in his eyes. After turning over every stone and exhausting every contact to find his lost son, the old man finally breaks down. Now that Sora is home, when he casually mentions the guard realizes the father he knew, who faced bloody battles, was actually hiding in plain sight. The guard, shaken by the truth, tries to flee, but Sora catches him before he reaches the door. Now the poor man sits at the table, getting a not-so-subtle warning to keep quiet about everything he's just heard. As the pressure mounts, the mother again saves the moment with perfect timing. Meanwhile, the father quietly thanks the heavens that Sora didn't expose his habit of, letting one rip. Amid all this chaos, Sora finally feels this is what home is. But peace doesn't last long. The father's men arrive in a panic, nervously reporting that a white-haired troublemaker just returned to town. At first, the thugs don't realize Sora is sitting with their boss, but when they spot him, one nearly has a heart attack. Nervous and stuttering, he warns that they're in a group, and Sora shouldn't try anything. Before he can finish, Sora, in a blur, grabs his knees, almost making the man soil himself. To calm things, the father steps in and reveals the boy is his son, missing for 5 years. He's about to mention Sora's level, but freezes. He doesn't actually know it. Our boy casually says he has no system. That shocks the thugs. They know no matter how much someone trains, without a system they can't surpass level 10. They assume he must be weak, but confusion quickly follows. This guy just stopped a truck, something even a level 10 wouldn't dream of doing. Sensing their doubt, Sora offers to let them check his info directly with their system. The thug explains how monster levels work and how low-level hunters can't use the inspection skill. Fortunately, his father has the ability, so he steps forward to test it. They gather around the table, Sora calm beside his mother, who proudly declares her faith in him. Yet when his father uses the skill, the system returns unknown. Everyone is stunned. It could mean Sora has no system, or that he's too powerful for the scanner. The first theory is quickly dismissed, since his name still appears. Surviving 5 years alone under conditions no novice could endure says everything. This moment makes the father realize his perception simply can't fathom the level his son has reached. As the room freezes in shock, it's the mother who finally breaks the tension. Overjoyed her son is home. She knows he must have suffered so much being a stranger in the world. When she places her hand on Sora's face, memories flood back. The torment, the pain, everything. Tears begin to fall. The atmosphere grows heavy and emotional. Wanting privacy, the father quickly ushers the men out of the room. Once things calm, our boy gently asks his mother about Riku, his older brother. She assures him Riku is safe, still serving in the army, and even offers to arrange a call, but explains explains he's on the front lines. Hearing this, Sora admits he misses his brother and curiously asks if his mother also has a high status. She nods, revealing she's a cleric known for strong healing and prophetic powers. Intrigued, Sora asks if she can inspect him, but she refuses. Still, she shares that her cleric powers prophesied his one-day return. Soon after, a muscular vice chief arrives flanked by men in black, ready for business. Sora's father greets him warmly, calling him Jiro, vice president of their united guild. But he quickly notices Jiro's long face and asks what he's uncovered. According to the vice chief, the Tiger's Roar Guild has ties with the army. He explains that an army requisitioner, a real pain, has been complaining during inspections of the monster corpses delivered by the guilds. He awarded only half the points while reporting the full credit up the chain of command. A deeper audit traced all the discrepancies back to Tiger's Roar. When Sora's father hears this, he knows something bigger is going on, but also understands they can't just stand by and let it jeopardize the city's future. He tells the vice captain to rest, then draws his sword and decides to visit the Tiger's Roar Guild in person to remind them that the united guilds aren't an easy target. Meanwhile, Sora overhears everything from his room. His enhanced strength has sharpened his hearing, and now he realizes that the bully he defeated and his men were also tied to Tiger's Roar. But his father's decision to confront them directly makes him uneasy. As they prepare to leave, Sora asks to come along. His father introduces him to the vice captain, who immediately asks Sora's level. When his father admits that Sora has no system, the vice captain grows worried. Without a system, Sora wouldn't last 3 days out there. He'd be dead weight. Respectfully, he suggests Sora stay home and rest. Sora's parents agree, but he senses that to everyone else he still looks like an ordinary kid. If a powerful monster appears, he'll have to hide his strength even as he protects them. So for now, he consents to stay behind. The group departs, eyes blazing with vengeance against Tiger's Roar. Seeing Sora a bit downcast, his mother gently reassures him it's all for his own safety. She always has visions of her husband returning home unharmed. Knowing the guild's ties to the army, Sora suspects things will only get worse. He asks his mother about Tiger's Roar and their grudges. She explains that his father founded their guild to cooperate with the army, and it grew rapidly thanks to a team of dedicated professionals. For 4 years, they handled loot recovery, monster cleanup, and helped maintain peace. But everything changed a few months ago when Tiger's Roar set up camp near their shelter. That's when the conflict began. The army turned to Tiger's Roar to clear the tower, since they were powerful and no one dared challenge them. They even have awakened members chosen by the tower's constellations called Ezras. The power granted by these constellations is nearly divine. Anyone who passes their trials gains that power, and Tiger's Roar possess more Ezras than any guild. Sora's family's guild has none, making things even harder for them. After this avalanche of information, his mother tells Sora to rest and freshen up, and even offers to wash his back. Once she leaves, Sora uses his detection spell to locate an exit, then casually leaps out the window to go help his father. Even seeing this, his mother doesn't stop him. She just smiles and murmurs, "Children will be children." Sora's father, Sakuya, marches toward the Tiger's Roar headquarters with his guild members. Watching from above, Sora notices that the area around the guild house is completely darkened, which oddly helps him spot the building more easily. Then dizziness hits him. It's strange. Ever since the Abyssal fragment empowered him, he hasn't even caught a cold. Suddenly, that strange voice returns saying there is no escape. He looks around, confused. He doesn't see the man from before nearby, meaning that man must have been inside Shelter 6. Another wave of dizziness overcomes him as the voice repeats that it has already marked his soul. When Sora punches at the spot where he imagines the man's head to be, he discovers it's just another illusion, while the voice echoes on. Beams of spotlight suddenly shine up at the rooftop, alerting Sora that he's been spotted. He realizes that his loud shouts gave him away and sprints off. After landing on another rooftop, the strange feeling returns, making him wonder if it vanished because of the spotlight. To test it, he stands under a street lamp, and the feeling disappears. In that moment, he understands that as little as 7 seconds of darkness are enough for the soul mark to activate and trigger that strange dizziness. And because only he can see it, acting strangely in public would make him look like some eccentric anime fan. But when he walks under light, a strange noise plays in his head, yet the mark vanishes and the visions stop, realizing that daylight light has been protecting him, but that at night the terrifying figure could strike unseen. Sora knows he must be careful, and he must find his father. As he walks the streets, muttering to himself and drawing odd looks, a passing car confirms it. He really does look like a lunatic. He also remembers his father might be in danger. The United Guild seems useless to the army, and facing Tiger's Roar could bring serious trouble. With that thought, Sora resolves to protect his parents at any cost. Lost in thought, he reaches where his father's group should be. His mind flashes back to his father's words about resolving things without violence, and he wonders if he really will follow that. But his thoughts are interrupted when he sees sees one of his father's companions standing outside the building, calling for his sword. Without hesitation, the man hefts his blade with brutal force, bellowing a single name, Tsua, daring him to step forward and fight. The slash isn't just a challenge. It cuts clean through the facade of the building, leaving Sora in utter shock. Seeing this, Sora approaches one of the guards and casually asks if their boss has always been like this. The guard, standing proud, confirms that their chief is always aggressive, always starting fights. Sora recalls that his father once spoke of peaceful resolutions, but the guard quickly corrects him. Much has changed since then. Now, the army doesn't bother with such squabbles. It's faster to do things their way. As he processes this, his mind drifts to the monk, who possessed quiet strength, yet avoided showing his true power. Just as he thinks of him, the monk Yukio appears on a distant rooftop near a military compound, studying a massive, fallen monster. Yukio's keen eyes assess the beast's high level, but what truly captures his attention is how easily someone felled the creature, proof that true power still exists in the world. Back on the street, the quiet is shattered by a tremendous roar. Susha storms out in fury, blaming Sakuya for the chaos. Sora's father greets him with stern words, but Sucha, clearly unconcerned, openly challenges him. If he wants him to leave, he'll have to kill him. At that challenge, Sakuya is instantly provoked and draws his sword with a lightning-fast motion, while the hulking Sucha clenches his teeth in fear, silently praying someone will intervene. Knowing Sakuya has finally been pushed too far,